"Mom, I don't hurt anymore," Olivia whispered, staring at her own shaking legs as if they belonged to someone else. For a heartbeat, the old garage in the east side of San Diego went silent. Dust floated in a bar of morning light. The salty smell from the ocean mixed with oil and hot metal. Catherine Kate Harrison, Billionaire CEO in a white suit, clapped both hands over her mouth. Tears rushed to her eyes before she could stop them. A tall black man in grease-stained coveralls, Marcus Thompson, stood 3 steps away, his dark hands trembling as if he had just touched fire. Behind him, his little girl Maya held a drawing of a robot and stared with wide brown eyes. In that 1 second, everything changed. But to understand how a poor single dad gave a billionaire's daughter a miracle, we have to go back to the moments when everything first fell apart. Years before that morning, Marcus had sat alone in this same garage, holding a newborn baby girl while his whole world burned down around him. His wife Denise had died just hours after giving birth to Maya. The hospital room had smelled like bleach and metal, and Marcus had watched the heart monitor go flat while a nurse quietly took off her wedding ring and placed it in his hand. At home, his college books for aerospace engineering lay open on the small table, next to an acceptance letter from UC San Diego he had once been so proud of. That night, with baby Maya's tiny fingers wrapped around his thumb, Marcus understood he had to choose. He did not go back to class. He went back to the garage his father had left behind. The same cracked walls, the same old tools, the same smell of motor oil and sweat and stubborn hope. For a while, Marcus thought fixing cars and planes would be his whole life. Then the second blow came. His younger brother Isaiah, a brilliant senior in aerospace engineering at UCSD, went diving at Sunset Cliffs with friends. A wave slammed him into hidden rocks, snapping his spine. The doctor's voice on the phone was flat and cold. "Your brother will never walk again." A T6 spinal injury, paralysis from the chest down. Marcus stood in the hallway, holding his phone and shaking, while baby Maya cried in the next room and unpaid bills piled up on the table. Isaiah tried to smile through the pain and joked about racing people in his wheelchair, but the truth showed in his eyes every time he watched someone else stand. One day the doctors offered an experimental surgery that might give him a chance to walk again. The cost looked like a phone number, $350,000. Marcus worked 3 jobs, begged family, asked old customers, even thought about selling the garage, but the money never came close. Isaiah was the one who told him to stop. "You still have Maya," he whispered from the hospital bed, fingers digging into Marcus's hand even as his lungs fought for air. "Promise me something, big brother. If you ever get the chance, help people like me. Don't let them lose hope." 5 years later, Isaiah died from lung problems, and Marcus stood over his grave with Maya in his arms, and that promise burning in his chest like fire. After that, the garage changed. In the day, it stayed a place for engines and rusty trucks. At night, it turned into a secret lab no one knew about. Marcus sat at the workbench with a cheap desk lamp, studying old books on human joints, watching videos on rehab and braces, sketching strange shapes on scrap paper. He had no degree, no white coat, no fancy tools, only his rough hands and a brain that saw moving parts everywhere. He studied knees like they were hinges on a plane wing. He studied hips like they were engine mounts. He cried some nights, thinking of Isaiah trapped in a chair, but he kept going. Somewhere deep inside, he believed that one day, somehow, his strange mix of pain and knowledge would matter to somebody across town in Loyola, on a cliff above the same Pacific Ocean that had broken Isaiah's spine. Another parent carried a different kind of wound. Catherine Kate Harrison was on magazine covers and giant screens at tech conferences. She ran Nexus Biosciences, a huge company that worked on gene therapy and cutting-edge medicine. Reporters called her the woman who bends biology, But there was one thing all her power and money could not bend back. Time. 11 years earlier, on a bright August evening at Pacific Beach, her daughter Olivia had begged to stay in the water just 5 more minutes. Kate, sitting on the sand in a nice dress, had one eye on her email and one on the small figure on the surfboard. "Mom, look at me," Olivia shouted from the waves. Kate lifted her head, waved once, and then dropped her eyes back to a deal worth $200 million. The ocean rose while she stared at the screen. A rough wave slammed the board into Olivia's head, and by the time the lifeguards dragged her onto the sand, blood ran from her hairline into the surf. Hours later, under bright hospital lights, doctors cut into her spine for 14 hours. Olivia lived, from the chest down. She never felt anything again. God. Kate never forgot the first words out of her daughter's mouth when she woke. "Mom, why can't I feel my legs?" Behind the question, Kate heard another one that stabbed harder. "Where were you?" From that day, Kate fought with the only weapon she trusted: money. She flew Olivia to the top rehab centers in the country. She paid for 11 surgeries, special nerve treatments, and every miracle device anyone suggested. When Olivia turned 19, she wore a custom brace, built by the best orthopedic company in the world. The metal was light, the sensors were smart, the price tag was $180,000. On paper, it was perfect. In real life, every step felt like fire. Olivia tried not to complain. At night, Kate heard her muffled crying through the bedroom door and sat alone in her glass office, staring out at the same black water that had changed everything, wondering if there was any way to buy forgiveness. On a warm Thursday morning, their two worlds finally crashed into each other. Marcus had just finished working on an old Cessna engine. Sunlight cut through the open door, lighting Maya's drawings scattered across the floor. She held up a little robot her dad had built from spare parts. "Dad, why doesn't this joint move right?" she asked. Marcus smiled and knelt beside her. "Because it's too dry, baby. When a joint doesn't have enough oil, it hurts to move. Machines and people are kind of the same that way." He handed the robot back to her. Right then, a low, smooth engine sound rolled down the street like a visiting king. It didn't sound like the beat-up cars from the neighborhood. Marcus wiped his hands and stepped outside. A white Rolls-Royce SUV gleamed in front of the garage, looking like it had taken a wrong exit from another planet. The back door opened, and a young woman climbed out slowly, using 2 tall leg braces. Every movement looked heavy, forced, like her body was fighting something no one else could see. Her long brown hair fell around a pale, tired face, but her eyes were sharp and brave. Next came a woman in a perfect white suit, with neat blonde hair and the kind of calm, cold look people get when they control whole companies. She scanned the cracked driveway and faded sign and tried to hide the doubt on her face. "Sorry to bother you," she said. "My car overheated. Can you take a look?" Marcus nodded and popped the hood, but while he checked the hoses and fluid, his eyes kept sliding toward the young woman trying to sit on an old wooden bench. Every time she shifted, pain flashed across her face. The brace locked her knees in a strange angle. Her hips twisted to make up for it. Marcus caught himself counting the degrees in his head, the way he did when lining up engine parts. He tried to look away, but finally he couldn't. He wiped his hands on his shirt, walked over, and knelt so he was eye level with her instead of towering above. "Excuse me, miss," he said softly. "I don't mean any disrespect, but is your brace too tight?" The girl blinked, shocked. People stared at her legs, or avoided them. Nobody ever asked that question. I don't know," she stammered. "It always hurts." Her mother straightened, her voice turning sharp. "That brace is top of the line. The best team in Boston designed it." Marcus stayed calm. "May I take a closer look? I won't change anything. I just want to see." He waited until both of them nodded. Then he ran his fingers along the metal joints, the straps, The angles. He felt where the metal pushed the wrong way, where it forced a knee instead of guiding it. Your knee is locked at about 15 degrees, he said slowly. When a person walks, it needs to bend way more than that, so your hip twists to make up for it. He glanced up. That's why your lower back feels like someone is pressing a hot knife there all the time. Olivia's eyes filled with tears. How did you know? The doctors said it was normal. Because your body is leaning just a little to the right, Marcus answered. I've seen cars do this when one side is forced off balance. Kate's chest tightened. 11 years of the best minds in medicine. And a mechanic in a dirty shirt had seen something in 3 minutes that nobody had pointed out. When they got home to their huge house on the hill that night, the Pacific shining outside the glass walls, Kate paced the floor while Olivia sat in her chair and watched her. You don't trust him, Olivia said quietly. I'm afraid, Kate admitted. If he's wrong, you could be hurt even worse. Olivia stared down at her still legs. Mom, I've already been hurting for 11 years. We tried everything money can buy. Maybe it's time to try something money can't control. Her voice shook, but she held her mother's gaze. He looked at me like a person, not a broken project. Kate broke then, dropping to her knees in front of the chair, laying her head in her daughter's lap. I am so sorry I didn't look up that day, she sobbed. I keep trying to buy my way out of that second. Olivia stroked her hair, her own tears falling. Then don't buy it, Mom. Just believe with me, one more time. The next morning, with shaky fingers, Kate called Marcus. Mr. Thompson, she said, I want you to try to fix the brace. But if I see even the smallest danger, I stop everything. Do you understand? Yes, ma'am, Marcus answered. His voice was steady, but his heart was racing. I don't want to hurt her either. I'll be careful. I only ask for one chance. Marcus treated that brace like it was made of glass. He laid it on the workbench, cleaned every screw, studied every joint. Maya dragged a stool next to him and watched in silence for once, her eyes big. Dad, are you going to help that girl walk? She finally whispered. I'm sure going to try, he said, not looking away from the metal. Like you wanted to help Uncle Isaiah, she asked. The words hit him like a punch. He closed his eyes for a second, then nodded. Yeah, baby. Like that? Night swallowed the garage, but he didn't stop. He took the brace apart, sketched new shapes, checked angles against videos of people walking. He thought about center of mass, like he once had with planes lifting into the sky. When the first prototype was ready, he called Kate. The fitting started well. Olivia smiled, saying it felt lighter. It hugged her legs better. On the third step, she screamed. The new ankle joint had cut her skin. Blood ran into her sock. Kate grabbed her daughter, rage and terror mixing as she yelled, That's enough. I knew this was crazy. Marcus stood frozen, hands shaking, whispering, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry, over and over. But as the car door closed, Olivia turned and met his eyes through her tears. Please don't give up, she cried. He didn't sleep that night, but the next day he still tried again. He softened the edges, changed the angles, built a second brace. At the second fitting, Olivia's pain came even faster, this time from the hip joint. Kate called her lawyer in front of him and promised a lawsuit if he ever touched her daughter again. Marcus watched their car disappear down the street and sank onto the cold floor, his back against the wall. Feeling like he had lost Isaiah all over again, Maya found him in the dark, phone in his hand. Dad, are you quitting? She asked. I think I already failed them, he whispered. I only made things worse. She crawled into his lap like she had when she was little. Did Uncle Isaiah ever tell you to quit? Her simple question broke something open. At that exact moment, his phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Olivia. I'm okay. Please, don't give up on me. I still believe in you. Marcus stared at the words until they blurred with tears. He went back to the table, turned on the lamp, and picked up his drawings again. He strapped the old prototype to his own legs, walked, felt where his body shifted. Then, like a light turning on, it hit him. The problem wasn't just the joints. The whole balance was wrong. The brace treated the knee like the main center, but in real walking, the hips were the true center. "I've been balancing it in the wrong place," he breathed. He grabbed a clean sheet and started from zero. For days, the garage door stayed shut. Neighbors wondered. Maya brought him food in silence and watched him test again and again, falling, getting back up, adjusting tiny things. He spent the last $3,000 he had saved for Maya's school to buy better aluminum and soft medical padding. On the 7th day, he stood in front of a new brace that barely looked like the old one. It was lighter. The force flowed up to the hips. Every part moved like a living thing. His hand shook as he called Kate. "I know you have every reason not to trust me," he said, "but I'm asking for one last chance. If I fail, I'll walk away." A long silence. Then Kate replied, voice tired but softer. "You are the only person my daughter still believes in. We'll come, but I'm not coming alone." When the Rolls-Royce pulled up again, a third person stepped out, a tall man with gray hair and sharp eyes. "I'm Dr. William Crawford," he said. "I've treated Olivia for 11 years. I'm here to make sure you don't break her." His tone said he did not believe in miracles. Marcus only nodded. "Yes, sir." He let the doctor inspect the brace. Dr. Crawford turned it in his hands, frowning at the new hip system. "This is not in any textbook I've seen," he muttered. "It's just how our bodies really move," Marcus answered quietly. "I studied it, in slow motion." The air in the garage grew thick as Marcus strapped the new brace on Olivia, checking each buckle twice. Kate stood on her daughter's left, Dr. Crawford on her right, both ready to grab her. Maya held her breath near the doorway. "I won't hold you," Marcus told Olivia, "but I'm right here. Let the brace carry your weight. You just think about moving." Olivia swallowed hard, then pushed against the floor. She rose. 1 second. 2, 3. Her body did not tilt. Her face changed slowly, from fear to shock. "Mom," she whispered, "my back doesn't hurt." Kate's knees buckled. Tears exploded from somewhere deep as she choked out a sound that was not even a word. Olivia took a step. Her knee bent smooth and easy. No stabbing pain shot up her spine. She took another, then another, each one stealing the air from everyone's lungs. After 11 years of living between a bed and a chair, she was walking, really walking, in a small, greasy garage between factories and tired palm trees. Marcus leaned on the workbench, silent tears running down into the oil stains on his shirt. In Olivia's face, he saw Isaiah standing again, not broken this time. Dr. Crawford stepped forward, eyes wide. "This balance system, this is brilliant," he whispered, almost to himself. But no one answered, because Olivia had started to run, clumsy but real, straight into her mother's arms. For the first time in 11 years, Kate held her daughter standing, both of them sobbing, both of them shaking under the weight of all the days that had led here. Word traveled through the neighborhood like a storm. People poked their heads out of windows and crowded near the open door, watching the billionaire's daughter laugh and cry and walk back and forth. Old Mr. Henderson from down the block wiped his eyes and told Marcus, "You didn't just fix her legs, son. You fixed all our faith." Sarah from the corner store asked if Marcus could see her boy with cerebral palsy. Marcus felt like the floor was moving under him. He had wanted to keep one promise to one person. Now, suddenly, many people were looking at him like he was their last hope. For 2 weeks, everything felt bright. Olivia came every day to train. Her steps grew smoother. The pain stayed gone. She helped Maya play with small tools and called Marcus Mr. Miracle in a teasing voice that made him blush. Kate began to smile in a way that wasn't forced. But right when the joy started to feel safe, the twist came. One morning, a thick envelope arrived in a cold white legal envelope. Marcus sat at the workbench and read it once, then again, his hands turning icy. It was from Premier Ortho Solutions, the giant company that had made Olivia's old brace. The letter said he had broken the law by changing a medical device without a license. It used words like violation, Class 2 device, civil and criminal action. At the end, it gave him 7 days to stop everything or face court. Marcus stared at the wall while Maya read over his shoulder, her voice tiny. "Dad, are they going to put you in jail for helping her?" Soon, the storm grew. A statement from the state orthopedic group came out on the news. They said that while they were glad Olivia was better, what Marcus had done was unsafe and outside medical standards. Reporters started calling. Some wanted to lift him up as a hero. Others asked if he understood he could have killed her. Dr. Crawford phoned Kate, sounding heavier than before. "I can't stand beside him in public," he said. "If I do, I risk losing my license. I'm sorry." Kate felt that old cold guilt creep back in, but this time it was mixed with anger. She called a press conference downtown. On the day, cameras flashed in her face as she led Olivia not in a wheelchair, but on her own legs, to the microphone. The room went quiet. Seeing a girl the world had known as disabled walk across that stage was louder than any speech. Kate looked straight into the lenses. "For 11 years, I spent millions of dollars on the best experts and devices," she said, voice tight but clear. "They could not give my daughter what this mechanic in a small garage gave her. And now some people want to punish him for it." A reporter shouted, "But aren't you afraid he took a risk with your daughter's life?" Kate's chin lifted. "Every doctor we saw took a risk. His was the only one done with nothing but love and care." Then Olivia stepped up, gripping the sides of the podium. "I was the one in that chair," she said, voice shaking. "I was the one who hurt every day. People with big degrees called my pain normal. Mr. Thompson was the first person who asked if my brace was too tight. He saw me as a person. He gave me my life back." The video of the rich CEO and her once disabled daughter defending. A black single dad from an old garage went viral across America. Some people cheered Marcus as a hero and said the system was broken. Others warned that feelings could not replace safety rules. While the whole country argued online, Marcus sat in his small kitchen with Maya, turning the legal letter over and over. Kate called and offered the best lawyers money could buy. Marcus shook his head, even though she couldn't see it. "If this becomes a giant fight, no other parent will dare trust me," he said softly. "I'll take the blame if I have to, but I won't say I'm sorry for helping your daughter." That night, when he thought everyone was done talking about it, there was a gentle knock at the garage door. A woman in her 50s stood there in a simple blazer, holding a small folder. "Mr. Thompson?" she asked. "My name is Dr. Patricia Reynolds. I teach biomedical engineering at Stanford." Her voice was calm, but her eyes burned with curiosity. "May I see the brace you made?" Marcus handed it to her without a word. She sat on a stool and studied it the way he once studied engine parts, silent for a long time. She bent each joint, tested the range, traced the line where the force moved up toward the hip. She flipped through pages in the folder that showed charts, then looked back at the metal in her hands. When she finally spoke, her voice was thick. "Who taught you to do this?" "No one," Marcus said. "I just watched how people move." Dr. Reynolds took off her glasses and wiped at the corners of her eyes. "In 30 years, I have never seen a design like this," she said. "You solved a problem my whole field has been wrestling with. You are a natural engineer, Mr. Thompson, license or not." She closed the folder with a soft snap. "If they put you on trial, I'll stand beside you. I'll tell the FDA myself that this is not a toy. It's a step forward." Weeks later, Marcus sat in a government office under bright lights while a panel of experts asked questions. Dr. Reynolds showed slides, charts, slow-motion videos of Olivia walking. She described how Marcus's brace put the true center of balance in the hips and spread pressure safely through the body. Premier Ortho's lawyers argued that if people like Marcus were allowed to build devices, chaos would follow. The room felt colder with every word. Marcus spoke only when they asked him to. "Why did you do this?" one man asked. "Because I promised my brother I would help people like him," Marcus answered, "and because a girl asked me not to give up." In the end, the panel stepped out to decide. The wait felt like years. When the letter finally came in the mail, Marcus sat at his workbench again to open it, fingers shaking just like the first time he held Maya. The words swam in front of his eyes. A special license. He would be allowed to design braces under Dr. Reynolds' guidance for 2 years, while he studied to become an official biomedical engineer. It was not a full yes, but it was not a no. It was a door, cracked open. Marcus pressed the letter to his forehead and whispered, "Isaiah, I kept my promise. Man, I didn't quit." A year later, the sign over a simple building on a quiet San Diego street read, "Thompson Mobility Solutions, making hope walk again." Inside, the walls were bright, the floors clean, the air filled with small sounds of effort and laughter. There were no marble floors, no fancy fountains, only workbenches, parallel bars, and rows of braces in different sizes. At the front desk, a plain plaque carried one more line, dedicated to Isaiah Thompson, 1988 to 2013, on opening day. Families waited in a long line that wrapped around the block. Kids in wheelchairs, older folks with worn-out braces, parents holding forms with shaking hands all came because they had seen a girl named Olivia walk. Marcus did not stand on a stage. He moved from person to person, kneeling to meet their eyes, asking softly, "Can you show me how you move now?" He watched every small step like it was part of a new equation. Olivia worked beside him, now a college student at UC San Diego, studying to help people walk, just like she had learned. She showed kids how to stand, told them her story in simple words, and let them see her scars, so they would know she was not a miracle princess, just a girl who refused to stop trying. Maya, now 8, swept the floor, carried tools, and drew new brace ideas in a notebook. Her small brow furrowed in the same way Marcus's did when he was focused. Kate changed too. Boardrooms were no longer her only world. She still ran Nexus, but her calendar now had big blocks of time marked Olivia. On some evenings, mother and daughter walked slowly on Pacific Beach, side by side where everything had once gone wrong. They let the cold water rush over Olivia's legs while the sky turned pink. One night, Olivia stared out at the waves and said, "Mom, I don't blame you. The ocean did this, not your phone." Kate's shoulders shook as she cried and held her daughter, letting 11 years of poison drain out with the tide. 2 years later, Marcus passed his exams and became an official biomedical engineer, the first in the state to reach that title by starting as a self-taught mechanic. Thompson Mobility had already helped hundreds of patients, many of them from poor families who paid little or nothing. Big companies tried to buy his designs. He said no when their contracts didn't protect the people who needed them most. He still kept the old garage open, still fixed engines for neighbors who trusted him long before the cameras came. When reporters asked why he didn't move to a richer area, he just smiled and said, "This is where my promise started." One golden evening, he sat again at Pacific Beach with Maya on one side and Kate and Olivia on the other. The sun slipped toward the water, turning it to fire. Olivia stood and walked into the waves with careful steps, then laughed out loud. "Mom, I can feel the water pushing my legs," she shouted. Kate joined her, both of them holding hands as foam swirled around their knees, crying and laughing at the same time. Maya leaned her head on Marcus's arm. "Dad, do you think Uncle Isaiah can see her?" she asked. Marcus looked at the sky, then at the girl running through the surf, and felt his eyes fill. "Yeah, baby," he said softly. "I think he's smiling right now." Maya was quiet for a moment, then whispered, "Are you happy?" Marcus watched Olivia splash in the ocean that had once taken everything from her, and saw Kate's face lit by the setting sun instead of a phone screen. He felt his daughter's warm weight against his side and thought of all the people who had walked out of his little shop on shaking legs. His voice broke as he answered, but the words were clear and true. "I'm happy. Because we learned that real miracles don't come from money or power, they come from a heart that keeps its promise and refuses to stop trying."